12 months ago, Frankston led every suburb in Melbourne for growth. It was the hotspot of all hotspots. The market has since pulled back and most investors have equally pulled back with it. Today, I want to look at what's actually changed, what simply hasn't, and whether this is a correction worth paying attention to. Here's what I'll cover. Number one, what the Boxing Day sales analogy means for a market like Frankston right now, and why I simply think the correction and the fundamentals are telling two very different stories. Number two, the real sales clearing in Frankston right now, and what they tell you about who's actually buying in Frankston. Number three, the specific property types and streets I'd like to be targeting in Frankston with an 800k budget. And the one thing most investors get wrong when they try to time a market correction on their own. Let's get into it. Here's the way I think about it. You simply wouldn't wait for a TV to go back up in price before buying it on Boxing Day. The asset, the home, the investment is exactly the same. The sentiment is what's shifted. Frankston's fundamentals have kept building through 2026 and beyond, while buyer sentiment has gone the other way. That gap right now is the opportunity. And the single most important thing that hasn't changed, that most investors aren't looking at, is the employment anchor. The hospital is open, the university is operating. Chisholm TAFE just finished a 67.6 million stage 2 campus, over 2,000 extra students a year. That's not a cafe opening. That's state government capital voting with its feet on Frankston's future trajectory. So let me be precise about what actually shifted. What changed is buyer sentiment pullback. The rate environment tightened. The RBA cash rate is at 4.35% at time of recording, back at the 2023 peak, and the consumer confidence is at its lowest reading since the ANZ Roy Morgan series began in 1973. The top quartile prices softened. What didn't change is where I'm sitting right now. Frankston Hospital is open. The university is running. The Metro line 42 kilometers out on a direct line is operating. The coastal lifestyle is unchanged, and vacancy is still near at a record low. 1.14% in Frankston North, 1.27% in Frankston, 1.29% in Frankston South. Rental demand has stayed intact even as buyer confidence pulled back, and here's the historical parallel. In mid-2023, sentiment was at a similar low. Sydney then rose about 14.7% from the trough within 12 months. The investors who acted during the peak down trough captured the full rebound, and this is exactly what is happening right now in the Frankston LGA. There's a mechanism behind that gap, and it's worth understanding because it tells you who's been driving the market. Through 2025, Frankston saw a real wave of investor and buyer's agent activity chasing yield in this exact price bracket at the 650 price range. That demand has pushed prices up faster than rents could follow, and gross yields has simply compressed quite hard. Frankston's yield fell roughly at 7.5% over the year on our figures, and Frankston's North fell over 10%. Once that yield thins out that much, the investor case gets a lot harder to run, and a chunk of that buyer pool has now stepped back and retracted itself. What's left competing for houses now is owner-occupiers, not simply investors chasing a number on a spreadsheet, and that's a healthier, more durable buyer base for anyone buying today. What's strange is not the asset, it's how many buyers turn up to the inspections and how hard they're competing once they are there. That's why the affordability of local owner-occupier demographics becomes important. On the data available, but also on a week-to-week on-ground observation, the Frankston market pullback reads as a reactive rather than structural headline. It's driven caution rather than a policy change that has repriced Frankston significantly and specially. Our search interest for Frankston North fell from 5.7 to 3.5, while price growth still surprisingly stayed the strongest in that corridor. Sentiment and fundamentals are telling two different stories. The gap is the opportunity, and the reactive sentiment will ultimately correct itself once that confidence returns across owner-occupiers and investors. Let's go check out 5 Frankston homes which has transacted through the past couple of months. 4 Dane Street, 3-bed on 552 square meters of land, sold for $840,000. $1,000. 1 Amara Road, 3-bed, 2-bath on 600-ish square meters of land, sold for $817,000. 11 Njaya Court, a 3-bed, 1-bath on 430 meters square of land, sold for $720,000 in June of 2026. 4 McCrusty Road in Frankston, 3-bed, 2-bath on 542 meters square of land, sold for $825,000 in July of 2026. 103 Wangara Road, 4-bed, 2-bath on 548 square meters of land, sold for $855,000 in July of 2026. Every one of these homes sits in the 720 to 855 bandwidth range. My read 12 months ago, in the frenzy before the rate hikes around buyer confidence falling downhill, this exact caliber of houses on the similar size block would have been fought over by multiple buyers in the high 800s, and some would have absolutely pushed past the 900k. What's changed is not the asset, it's how many buyers are turning up to the inspection and simply how hard they compete once they are there. So with 850k in my pocket right now and having to spend in Frankston, I'd be looking first at established homes inside the activity centre catchment, the walkable zone around the train station that now sits in the new housing choice and transport zone, and the highly coveted Frankston High School zone. That zoning allows generally up to 4 stories on a standard site with a streamlined approval process within Frankston City Council. So a well-selected home on a good sized block that is a genuine future townhouse or a small apartment site at play, not just a renovation play. I'd also weigh anything within easy reach of the hospital and the Monash and Chisholm Education Health Precinct. Peninsula University Hospital, the Monash and Chisholm TAFE are all within a few kilometres of each other, and this is a power play. It's a permanent rental hub demand that doesn't depend on the CBD commute and proximity to local facilities. What I'll be mindful of is the Kananook Creek and the foreshore precinct specifically. That's where the highest density has been proposed, and is also where Melbourne Water has raised real flood risk objections, and where the master plan has faced the most community and VCAT pushback. We can definitely see flooding overlays being quite prevalent in this pocket. A cheap site in that particular pocket may be cheap for a reason that hasn't fully played out yet. So the one instruction I'd give someone who's been sitting on the sidelines: stop waiting for a headline to tell you the correction is over. By the time that the headline exists, the discount will be gone. Buy against the fundamentals in the area where the planning pathway is actually clear, not against the sentiment everywhere else in headlines media. We're down here in Oliver's Corner, right over Frankston foreshore. Is it still my corner to be investing? Is it still the hotspot to be in? I'm going to say absolutely yes. Down here right now in Ollie's Corner, let's go. If you want to know whether a specific Frankston property in a specific pocket passes the Insight to framework, that's exactly what we do. The link is in the description. Subscribe if this was useful, and of course I'll see you in the next one, or simply down at Oliver's Corner for a beautiful coffee Melbourne brunch while enjoying the Frankston foreshore promenade.